My skin is going through a little bit of a purge right now because I added a retinol to my skincare routine. It was super awesome the first week because I was only doing a pump about every other day. And now that I'm getting to the point where I'm doing like a pump of the serum every single day, it's starting to do the things that everyone is talking about. It probably doesn't look too bad on camera, I'm sure, but we're taking it easy today, taking it very chill, no makeup. We're letting the skin breathe. I finished Parable the Sower a couple of days ago, and I feel like I have been in an emotional wasteland ever since I finished it. Maybe a little dramatic, but it's true. But now that I've officially finished it, easily 5 stars, easily. I feel like this book is just so brutally honest and upfront with its portrayals and how the end of the world and the collapse of society would be experienced by people with marginalized identities. Octavia Butler is not gentle about the portrayal in any way. It's a lot of mind games. It's a lot of figuring out who you can and cannot trust. Who do you take risks on? How do you build community and still have outreach and still provide help to those who do need it, but also making sure you're doing it in a way that is protecting yourself and that isn't overly trusting. I'm not going to read it right now, but I am going to read this later. I'm going to try and finish Dracula this weekend. I have maybe about slightly more than 50 pages left to read. I am so excited because one of my pals, Salvia, shout out Salvia, has been saying how when they've been reading Dracula in preparation for book club, they've been reading this book like with a glass of a red drink. And my partner was so sweet and got me some boxed red wine so that I could do that this weekend. So later, after I watch my movie, I'm gonna read some of this book and I'm gonna read it with some wine. Very excited. For now, I really feel like knitting. I have been making these really cool little arm warmers. I'm holding these 3 yarns together, and I remember feeling a little bit worried about how like the gold mohair was going to peek through with the black yarn that I'm holding it with. But it's actually looking super, super cool. And I don't know if it's coming up on the camera, but even like the fuzziness, like that's on, you know, the fuzzy texture, whatever it's called, is gold, which I think is really, really cool. And this is giving the exact effect that I was hoping it was going to get when I picked these colors. We watched So I Married an Axe Murderer, which is a Mike Myers movie. Very, very silly. My review on Letterboxd is a silly Mike Myers movie, nothing more, nothing less. And I still stand by it. But it was very fun. I liked it. It was fun. But now I'm going to watch a horror animated movie that has been on my list, I feel like, for over a year now. I'm going to watch Perfect Blue. I've already got it rented. I ate some dinner. So I want to watch this movie. I want to knit for a while, chill out, enjoy my Saturday. I cannot believe I am about to film this. My partner took me on a surprise mission today to get a Switch 2. Oh my god, I am so fucking excited, dude. I did not think I was going to be getting a Switch 2 at all. One, they're really expensive. I also tend to usually like skip like a generation. Like I usually kind of like skip one, wait for the next thing. And in this particular case, I was actually going to hold out and wait for the Steam machine because that kind of seemed maybe a little bit more up my alley for something I would want to save up for or like wait until it launched. But with all of the issues that people are having with like getting chips and all of that other stuff, I was a little worried the project was not going to continue to happen. Valve insists that it is still going to be a thing and that it is still going to be something that is going to be released this year. Because, you know, even if they launch the Steam machine this year, there's still a huge chance that they just don't really make enough or they run out of inventory. It feels really, really unpredictable at the moment. So for now, I decided to put my hopes and dreams on the Steam machine on pause And you know what? That's fine, because now I have a Switch 2. And the funny thing is that I wasn't even considering a Switch 2 until Pocopia and Tomodachi happened. And now there is going to be Dusk Bloods, which is a FromSoft game that is going to be exclusive to the Switch 2. So before I unbox the actual console, here's the game. I'm so excited. And then here is the case that I got. It's Gengar and Mimikyu, which are some of my favorite Pokemon. Super excited. Anyway, I'm done yapping. I want to open this up. I want to take a look. I want to log in. I want to start transferring some files. I want to set this up and see if I can potentially stream some of my games. I've got some time before I need to go and start making some dinner, so let's chat some movies that I saw these past couple of days. As you know, I watched Perfect Blue, and holy shit, is that movie a wild ride. It's a surreal movie that analyzes like the treatment of idols like back in Japan. I want to say that this movie came out early 1990s, if I can remember off the top of my head. And our main protagonist is someone that wants to stop being an idol and actually switch into acting. And basically how she starts to get like a creepy stalker, while at the same time pushing herself to do certain things that she may not always necessarily be comfortable with, but she thinks she needs to, just for, you know, because you're in the movies and you think that's what you got to do to make people happy and get the job done that you want to get done, because that's your goal, that's your dream. And it does get to a point where you kind of start to question like what parts are real, what parts aren't. But in the end, the overall message is just how easy it is to lose yourself when it seems like every single person around you has certain expectations for you, when you are still living in a way where you are trying to figure out who you are as well too. This was definitely not an easy watch by any means. There are a couple of really intense SA scenes, so please know that going in. But the animation was beautiful, the music was incredible, and I do think that it was a really great look at exactly everything that I've been talking about. I think that this is going to be a topic that I think as long as we have people who are well known, people who are artists, people who are content creators, celebrities. I just think about now how we treat people like Chappell Roan, or not that long ago, and how horribly we would treat, you know, people like Britney Spears or Christina Aguilera. It's a non-stop issue, especially for women in industries like this. And then last night in my Discord, we had a movie night and we watched Memoir of a Snail. I thought going in that this was going to be a very, very silly, unhinged, cursed kind of movie because it's claymation that's rated R. And I saw some things that were like, there's snail sex and there's boobies and blah, 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 blah. And I just thought it was going to be so unhinged and something a way more lighthearted. And in the end, it was so beautiful. It was so heartbreaking, but at the same time, completely cathartic. I don't think that there was a single person in my Discord with a dry eye. The story navigates loss and abandonment, mental health, and how easily you are to be taken advantage of when you are an extremely vulnerable person because of everything that is happening in your life. Despite all of the more serious things that were going on in this story, it had a perfect comedic timing. It was the perfect amount of curse and silly. It was a precious movie. I don't know. I think if you like stuff like Marcel the Shell with shoes on, this movie reminded me so much of that. But the fact that it was rated R and kind of went a little bit more in the unhinged, a little bit cursed realm, that it made it so much more fun to watch as an adult, and made it a little bit more relatable as well too. Cannot recommend this movie enough. I don't even remember where I first heard about this movie. I'm sure that it was probably up on either like an Instagram or a TikTok post that was something about like underrated animation films. And I'm so glad that I took the chance on this movie because I think so many more people need to be talking about it and watching it. And please watch the movie. I have about a chapter left in Dracula, so I really need to rip the band-aid off and make sure that I finish that tonight because I have my book club meeting tomorrow. But I also started this. This is Nothing But Black and Teeth by Cassandra Claw. This is about a group of friends who are staying a few nights at what is appearing to be a haunted mansion during a time where they're celebrating a couple of them getting married. This is a very short story. I think it's only slightly more than 100 pages. This is the same author that did The Salt Grows Heavy, which is like a retelling of The Little Mermaid. Or maybe like a more proper description would be a retelling of the events after she got married to the prince. And I really like that book, which is why I started reading this one. And honestly, this has been sitting on my TBR, I feel like, for the past couple of years, but I actually kind of forgot about it until I pulled it out and I was talking about it with some pals. And so far, it's okay. I don't know if I'm going to like it more than The Salt Grows Heavy. I think I really connected to that one and loved it a lot. And I'll give my final thoughts when I totally finish this because I am reading through it pretty quickly. let's do our final little book review. So this ended up being a bit of a dud. Gave it about 2 out of 5 stars. This book is only about 125 pages, so very short. Cassandra Khaw, I feel like, tends to do more short stories, novellas, things like that. Very, very cool concept. But I feel like for only being 100 pages, I feel like there may have been a little bit too much emphasis on some of the interpersonal drama between the different characters in the story, as opposed to really locking into what was so creepy and scary and monster-like about the house that the friends are staying in. I could see where she was going with it, and I feel like if she really, really wanted that much drama and backstory amongst the friends, the book should have just been longer, okay? Or if she really wanted to keep writing a novella, to just cut out so much of that stuff, give us just enough so that we feel the tension amongst the friends, maybe that they all don't fully trust each other. But in the end, I'm reading this story because I like a gothic house situation. Something else that really bothered me about this story, that I just hated, was that it was a little too trying to be meta horror, and it just didn't work. There was so much of these quirky little one-liners and zingers trying to be like, oh, well, yeah, well, this is the part in the story where da-da-da-da-da. It was like it was trying to did what Scream did, the movie, one of my favorites, but then it fell really flat in this. I just think the way she tried to do it didn't work. And the singers were so corny, dude. They were so cheesy. I could not get behind it. I thought it was dorky. Ooh, that was a little mean. Very disappointed because I think I like the way that she writes horror, and I like the descriptions. I love the way this author just like writes stylistically. I think now that I've read 2 stories, I might be done. I might be wrapped up with trying to read any of her other stories. Unless she comes out with like a full book I might be interested in. We'll see. All right, now let's get into Dracula. For the most part, really liked it. I think when things were creepy, Bram Stoker does an incredible job with his descriptions. Sent me that sort of original chill to the bone that you get from a lot of like older ghost stories and folklore. Things of that nature. May not be as scary as maybe for some of you that maybe like a lot more scary things, but there was plenty in here that I found really, really creepy and very fun. But like most classics, you do just find periods where you're kind of like, what are you going on about? Why are we in such a big lull in the story here? And that definitely happens in the middle of the book. Switching perspectives, sometimes some of the characters already repeat things that other characters have said. So it's not really, well, at least in my opinion, I didn't find some of that to be as valuable just because it was in someone else's voice. I hated that a lot of the middle was in John Seward's diary entries, and he was like one of my least favorite characters. I fucking hated that guy. But it's just so undeniable how masterfully crafted symbolism and things like sex and desire and adultery and lust is like a pretty big theme in the story. So yeah, not my favorite book of all time, but I did enjoy it. It was very fun to kind of read some of the origins of like vampire stories. Technically, vampire stories did exist before this book. But I think it's pretty clear, at least if you are into horror stories, if you are into Dracula, if you're into vampires, that it is undeniable Bram Stoker's Dracula just had a major impact in how those stories are told and how people read them and engage with them. And I do think it's worth getting into, especially if you are interested in classics in any way. And all in all, I do think that this book was just so messy and full of drama, and I loved it.